It happens.
End of the day, have to shake off the rust and whatnot when it comes to technical issues. So we should be back now. But with that being said, how is everyone doing? Hopefully, everyone is doing well. And welcome back to Champions of the Fog. Very, very happy for everyone to be back again. And very happy to be alongside Cash, who is first time joining us for coasting on Champions of the Fog. Very happy to have you here. How's your day going?
Going pretty good. I'm super excited for what's about to happen.
Awesome. No, I'm wicked excited too, and everyone I've talked to from my own team sample text to everyone else who follows me over on my personal Twitch channel has been wicked excited about Champions of Fog going back in. So we're excited to see our first match back in I think like 3 weeks now with Cerebral Assassins versus Undyne Alliance on Dead Dog Saloon and Mount Ormond Resort. So it's going to be a very interesting match. I've heard a bit about Cerebral Assassins. I know of their players like that one guy D, but from what I've heard from people's reactions, it sounds like they're a pretty good team. Do you have any insight on them?
No, actually, I'm very new to the competitive scene, so I'm just starting to realize people's names and know kind of the weight that they carry, but I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, honestly, I've seen D play, and I have some really good respect for him, so I'm very excited to see what he does in a competitive setting outside of pubs. But beyond that, I know Undying Alliance, and I know that they play well, so I think overall there's going to be a really, really fun match, and I definitely am looking forward to seeing what every single team is going to be bringing to the table today. With that being said, with the two maps, Mount Ormond Resort and Dead Dog Saloon, one kind of balanced-ish map, and then another one very killer heavy. So it's going to be interesting to see what killers these teams end up bringing to try and get that early value. I'd say that the first team who's killing Undyne Alliance is going to want to come out swinging, especially if they are aware of the reputation that Cerebral Assassins has behind them.
Absolutely. I expect a lot of mobility killers and a lot of gen pressure killers on the Ormond.
No,
Not sure what to
absolutely.
expect.
Absolutely. And looks like I think our first killer today is going to be High Surveillance. So I will be joining them now, and now we're just going to be waiting on our friends over on Cerebral Assassins. Let me actually see if I have them added to get them in now. I do see that one guy D is live, so I do imagine that they'll be playing as Survivor and maybe even Killer today. So I'll invite them and get everyone on in. But with that being said, I'm feeling... who am I feeling right now? I guess that's a good question is, what killers do I think they're going to bring? I know that since Cerebral Assassins did join mid-season, they have all the killers available to them. Whereas Undyne Alliance has used, I think, Pig and Trickster for the most part have been the main two. So with that being said, Undyne Alliance has a lot of killers available to them that they could bring out here. So maybe on Ormond, I could see a Nurse, maybe a Freddy even.
I would like to see a Blight or possibly a Billy.
See, I would love to say Blight, but I don't know if everyone else has been experiencing the same issue that I have, but Blight is bugged to hell and back. Like, I'm not talking about, like, the hug tech or whatnot. Like, I'm having an issue where my M2 does not work unless I swing first. I have to swing to lock it out of M2, and then I can start sprinting after that.
I have not seen that before.
I
All I know
literally...
of is the sliding.
Okay, cool. So maybe it's just me. I don't know. But literally, I have lost a few win streaks due to that bug, and I just refuse to play Blight right now until I know that has been fixed. They didn't make mention of it in the last patch notes, so hard to say, but I feel like every single time they fix Blight, they break something else, and someone else is like, ooh, a fix and a break means new exploit. Which, to be fair, Blight is just a exploit in a killer's body at this point.
It is very true. I'd be excited to see it if it happened, but maybe it won't.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it does appear that we have everyone in lobby now, so let's switch screens, and that way we can see who all is on surviving team and who all is on killing team. And let me also make sure I do this, so that way you can also see what's going on. I'm like, wait a second, I feel like I'm forgetting something here.
Just about to bring it up.
I appreciate that. But with that being said, it looks like we have Miltime, Steven Strife, Squirtle Surgeon, and that one guy D on the Survivor side. And just want to confirm with Giraffe, do we have builds ready to go?
The survivors are good. I'm double checking something on the killer.
Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. So once we get that killer side confirmed, we will give these guys the go-ahead. It's been a while since we have taken a look at the rules, so always good to double, triple check. That way we don't bring in the wrong color add-ons for whoever's being brought in.
Tough remembering when you have to do so many different tournaments.
I mean, that's true. You have Champs of the Fog, you have Dead by Esports. Trying to think of the other ones out there. There's like Survive to Daylight is another one.
You got certain CGL tournaments. You got
Yep.
Boneyard.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And I think if what they're saying is correct, Ref, I think they should be good to go. So I'll get them ready to go. Yeah, I know specifically with this killer, there's a few different perks and add-ons that you have to be attentive to. And you guys will see exactly what I mean in a second. This was, allowing these add-ons was highly requested by the community. So I very much specifically, made sure that everything else was notated. This is not allowed, this is not allowed, this is not allowed, but this is allowed. Maybe I should have put just a note there saying this is allowed and these aren't allowed. Would have probably made it a bit easier. But with that being said, we should be joining up right now for some Mount Ormond Resort. And I think if we were taking bets, I think I was right about the initial choice from Undying Alliance here, which I'm excited. This type of killer, it is very much hit or miss, you know, whether or not they get good value. And with that being said, we do see a nurse. So, what are your thoughts here? I'm not sure if you've ever watched High Surveillance and their gameplay overall.
I have not seen any of it whatsoever.
Okay, so really cool thing. High Surveillance is very much like me. They are very much a variety killer is the best way I can put it. They know how to play a pretty wide array of killers, and I don't think I've ever seen their nurse, but from that initial blink right there, I'm very excited because that shows pretty good understanding of how to use a nurse's blink and kind of fake out those type of hits.
Absolutely. Great first find right off in the beginning of the match.
Yeah, and that is almost within the first 30 seconds of the match too, so that is some really good pressure here from High Surveillance. You know, one thing to note is that range add-ons are not allowed in COTF, where, you know, the double recharge here is. So, you know, I think that's going to be pretty much the staple for most nurses, and the community was pretty adamant about wanting to have that double recharge available, which I can understand. You know, Nurse can be rough without add-ons at times.
I've never played Nurse on this map, so I'm not sure how difficult it is to traverse the middle side, like the house.
The house isn't too bad, as you are seeing here. The main concern, of course, for any nurse on a two-story building is the fact of whether or not you accidentally blink down and lose value. Yeah. That's the main concern there, but for the most part, you know, you should be in a pretty good position if you're mindful of that fact. And we do see High Surveillance here just really applying a ton of pressure with that one guy deslugged, Squirtle Surgeon about to go on a second hook, and now Miltime also going on the hook as we speak. So, I mean, this is quite the impressive nurse game for Undying Alliance here.
That's what you call gen pressure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest thing of Nurse, right? Is that Nurse can be either really good at the 1v1, or can just be so oppressive to where these survivors can't really do anything. And it's very possible that we do see Steven Strife going down. I think their best bet is to try and go for that one guy D and maybe try and get him up, but unfortunately, Nurse making very quick work of this team, and that will be 3 people on hook right now. And I guess maybe Cerebral Saturn's only hope here is that they are able to just get good RNG for Hatch for a D to escape, because that is 0 gens against the Nurse.
By the way, Gil,
Yep.
I don't know if it'll affect the stream, but I cannot hear audio from the game in Discord.
Yep, so don't worry about it too much. I had noted that, and I fixed all the settings. I hope. Really hope.
Okay.
But
just
it
wanted to
should
make sure.
be good now, so feel free to let them know in chat that it was caught quite early and that we should be good to go. But with that being said, that is a 4K on 0 gens. I mean, a ton of progressions, so very possible that they end up losing some points from that in that regard. But overall, I mean, a very, very impressive showing by High Surveillance. And, you know, I'm not sure if maybe this was the right team to bring Nurse for because it was a very clear blowout. But at the same time, it definitely secured their lead, being the first killer up.
Yeah. I don't know whether or not they're going to need that Nurse later. It seems like not, but...
Yeah, I mean, they still
start.
have a good number of what I refer as the top 8 and actually top 9 killers now left in their pocket. You know, before it was the top 8, but the inclusion of Nemesis now, I'd say top 9. A lot of people still are not sure of how to use him, but then again, you know, as a reminder, Nemesis isn't allowed in this season, so moot point there. But
Yeah.
that being said, great game by High Surveillance, and we'll be switching over to Undying Line Surviving and Cerebral Assassins killing on Mount Ormond Resort. I mean, this build on Nurse is really good. You know, you have your Tinker, your Ruin, Undying, Corrupt. Personally, I like my Corrupt, Ruin, and Pop as, you know, safety, but if you're confident with your Nurse play, I don't think it really matters.
Not at all. And the fact that she got 2 down right off the bat means they had no chance to push gens anyways.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, they spawned near the totems, but that really just didn't matter because High Surveillance was on top of them with 0 hesitation. I mean, that just shows how strong Nurse is. You know, she is not one of the S-tier killers, or she is one of the S-tier killers for a reason, rather, and arguably the best killer in Dead by Daylight because she just breaks the mechanics of the game, basically denying you all forms of value, and where you just have to pretty much play mind games with her blinks.
No pallets allowed.
Yeah, pretty much. But with that being said, once we do receive word from Cerebral Assassins on who will be killing, we'll be jumping over to them. But for now, we can kind of sit back, relax, talk about the state of the game. You know, with everything going on, ignoring the performance issues, what are your thoughts on this most recent DLC of Resident Evil? I know a lot of people are on console, and even some PC players have been having problems with frame rates. But thankfully, I haven't, and right now the state of the game actually feels really good, all things considered. What has your experience been?
I have not had performance issues either, so I can't say anything to that. However, for Nemesis, I would say that he is a pretty good killer, and I guess I would agree with most people when I say that his first infection hit on a survivor, I would like to see that not have an extra sprint burst.
I can definitely understand that. You know, that's one thing that when I play Nemesis, you have to really kind of keep that in mind almost, to where you know, are keeping in mind that, okay, is this person infected or not? Because when I'm playing against the Nemesis or as I'm playing as Nemesis, I have to think about, okay, am I infected? No. Am I injured? Yes. Cool. I'm going to pre-drop this pallet and sit on it, and let's see if they go for the infection. If they do and hit me, I get momentum away. And so that gives me a little way to mind game against the killer. Whereas if the killer's smart and they're on tier 2, they then can actually break the pallet instead of hitting me and gain distance instead. So there's a bit of counterplay to Nemesis, which I really do like. And even at times I'll pocket a syringe in chase and use it at a pallet. And that way Nemesis has to make a choice. Okay, do I break pallet? Do I hit them? If I hit them, they momentum. And so there are these very unique interactions I feel like people haven't really caught on to just yet, which makes him both weaker and stronger in his own right.
Yeah, I haven't thought of those things, actually, to be honest with you. I've only seen a little bit of gameplay, played just a bit of them. I think it's really map dependent, though, as far as him choosing him for something like
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. I mean, fact of the matter is, if you're on any form of map with short tiles, right, he is just very, very oppressive because he can just hit you over them, so your looping capabilities is little to none. versus other killers where, Deathslinger's going to struggle because they need to still get the hit if you're injured, or a Huntress needs to make sure that she gets that hit perfectly over it, where Nemesis just really doesn't have those issues. That's why I personally put him in A tier right behind Pyramid Head. I was like really having a challenge myself of which one's better, Pyramid Head or Nemesis, due to their anti-loop. But Pyramid Head just has so much value beyond the anti-loop with his denial of, hook-related perks like BT, DS, Deliverance, that really just push him a little bit farther ahead, in my opinion.
It's very true. With his ranged ability, he could just pick 2 people off when they're trying to go for a save.
Exactly.
So it does give him the upper advantage.
Yeah,
I'd say through my experience with Nemesis, I'm less afraid of him, and I'm more afraid of those zombies.
No, the zombies can be rough. They also, though, have a little bit of counterplay and some really interesting interaction. I just yesterday was playing Survivor. I made a very good point of using zombies to my advantage for sprint burst, basically. So one of my survivors was about to die on hook, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get to them in time. I wasn't infected, so what I did is I used the zombie to hit me, which gives me a momentum boost, and I was able to get to the hook in time. So there's that little bit of interaction and play that a survivor can do to use certain things in your environment to your advantage. And maybe that's a good example of why your first infection shouldn't give you that momentum boost, because I'm able to use that as a survivor to my advantage, whereas most other killers just, you lose value as a survivor, where in that instance, I gain value.
Yeah, that is one interesting situation in which he's actually weaker. I think it's a little cheeky, but you could definitely use the zombies to body block from the killer as well.
No, I've done that a few times too, where I see a killer in a certain loop and I see a zombie as well, and I go, okay, well, if I loop him this way, he is forced to go a certain way, and I can grab the vault, for example. And so, that's kind of an important thing there to keep in mind, that if you're aware of a zombie in an area, as long as you're not going to get hit by them, you can then use that to your advantage for a potential body block. So, there's a lot of interaction and counterplay to Nemesis as a whole, which I do like, because he's very strong in the anti-loop if you're infected, but if you're not, then there's still ways to work around him, which is good and bad in its own right.
I have a question, actually. I haven't played him that often, but what would you suggest for his best add-ons?
That, I would probably say, is the increased mutation rate. The less hits that you need to get to tier 2, the better, I would say. Because I think tier 2 is really where he is his strongest. Obviously tier 1, he's weaker. Tier 2, he gets that buff. Tier 3 is nice, but it's not necessary. That extended range is definitely a benefit. And so, with that being said, I would really say the play is to get to tier 2 as soon as possible off of 2 hits. That way you can start breaking pallets. That way if they're, in that loop, you can break the pallet if they're not infected. If they are infected, you can hit them over the pallet and then get that really quick down. So that'd be my personal take, though I have seen people argue that zombie speed is another really good set of add-ons.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard less on the mutation just because of the fact that you can mutate or change your level pretty quickly on its own.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is a big factor, but real quick, just want to confirm from Giraffe that we are good for builds.
We're all good.
Awesome. Now I can just let them know that they are ready to go. But yeah, so I'm very interested to see, as Nemesis gets used more and more and survivors understand a bit more how to play against him, to, what exactly it will be looking like when Nemesis is finally entered into comp. I know some other leagues and tournaments have already allowed him in there, whereas we have banned all of the Resident Evil DLC until Season 1. Just that way, if there are already bugs or issues, it's better safe than sorry to put new content on hiatus. That way Behavior can fix any issues that might arise.
I would absolutely agree with that.
So...
safe than sorry.
It'll be interesting. I'm interested not just in Nemesis, but also Blastmine. Blastmine really intrigues me as a pop counter.
I haven't thought much of it because I'm so distracted with that flashbang.
That's fair. Flashbangs are nice too. They're very quiet in comparison to firecrackers. It's very hard to know when they're coming. So if you use them well, they're very, very strong. But it looks like Cerebral Assassins is coming in strong as well. And bringing in a Freddy. I'm surprised that we're not seeing a nurse in response to the nurse. But Freddy is a very high A tier killer, and if used well, can apply a ton of pressure. You know, we do see the very common build of Tinkerer, Pop, Ruin. A lot of times I also see Barbecue instead of Corrupt in this case, but Corrupt also pretty much guarantees that you're going to get your initial teleport. That way you can teleport to the initial Tinkerer gem.
I think Corrupt's going to be a much safer bet, especially on a big map like this.
Absolutely, but it does look like these survivors are taking the immersion route here, where they're opting to wait out Corrupt Invention, which I think on Freddy, it's a double-edged sword. On one end, you're not going to give him value with these early hits or downs. On the other hand, you're going to be in a situation now to where Freddy will have his teleport prepped and ready for when you first tinker a gen. So there is a interesting decision here on what the best plan is. But they did end up wasting a full, like, minute and 15 seconds before the first hit, so I'll say that's actually a pretty good job, all things considered.
Now they just got to get to gens as quickly as possible.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you're looking here at where Ace is currently being chased, he's being chased in active generators. His best bet, honestly, is to dive as far away and go to corrupted gens. That way Freddy might not feel like he can or wants to continue chase. But looks like they're going to continue upstairs. And I think that was a use of a firecracker. It was. And oh, wow. So not only during that entire chase were they working on gens, they were cranking out that gen, as we actually see one gen already at 70%. We do see Tinker popping here and him committing to that teleport. So that will mean that looks like High Surveillance will get out of chase, while Freddy will now be engaged with Meg instead.
He's got some really good pressure just because of that first chase up in main.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was good pressure. I will say that, you know, these survivors did not waste any time once they realized that being the case. Though my main concern here is the fact that survivors haven't seemed to go for Ruin. One of my biggest things is when I'm evaluating a specific killer on whether or not I want to get rid of Ruin is how mobile they are. You know, whether it's a Nurse, a Spirit, a Freddy, a Blight, especially if Tinker in play and having that information. If I was these survivors, I would hunt Ruin ASAP, though I'm not sure what builds they have and whether or not they will, you know, have the option to do so.
Seems like a really good and safe bet because he can't get very far with that, and it's probably pretty easy to hide it out.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, and I will say is that 2 or 3 gens at 70%. That is 3 gens that just popped off back-to-back-to-back Tinkerers. Freddy is in a world of hurt right now. So this is going to be interesting if these survivors are going to be able to really capitalize off of these initial chases. I mean, some
good thing is they're already in a lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. They're in a really good spot right now. This now means that High Surveillance off of this unhook will now activate Deliverance. So he'll have that pocketed for future reference. And just overall, I think these survivors just brought a situation where I wasn't sure if they were really in a good spot, quote-unquote, to a very strong position. We do see Ruin going as of now, so Freddy is left with Pop, which... This is the discussion I love to have. Is it better to cleanse Ruin at endgame or at the very beginning? What are your thoughts there?
If you're gonna cleanse it, I think you should cleanse it at the beginning, because if you're doing it at the end, that pop value could get very strong with a 3-gen.
Exactly, that's my exact thought process, and that's how I kind of feel as a killer. If I'm getting that early game value with Ruin and kind of pressuring off of the gens, and just making so that they're not going to get that value in the early game, then I feel very good as a killer having Ruin just let go, you know, after the 2nd or 3rd gen pops, because then I have Pop Goes the Weasel, and yeah, that means I have to commit to chases to get that value, but it does feel very good just being able to, you know, pop and regress that 25% right then and there versus waiting and just hoping that it goes below 70% for that Tinker value instead.
The only thing different about this moment here is that he's playing Freddy, and so he has that teleportability. He can still get a lot of value out of Pop.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The biggest thing here, though, and one reason why in pubs I run barbecue a lot is because I can see what gens they're on with Pop and then go immediately, okay, teleport, and then get that immediate Pop value. But now Freddy has another decision to make. Does he chase the people off the gens or go for the hook for Pop? But now there are 2 gens, once again, tinkered with only 3 gens left. I mean, Freddy's in a really tough position here, and these survivors are playing very efficiently and very smart. The only thing that I'd say that they're doing incorrectly is probably not using their clocks enough to try and rob him of teleport value, but, I mean, they don't need to at this point.
Seems like they've already got everything handled.
Yeah, I mean, this is second hook with 4 gens popped back to back to back to back. I mean, this Freddy is having a really hard time and high surveillance going down, but it doesn't really matter because Deliverance is in play. And so now they're going to be out to the races with DS for a full 60 seconds. If Freddy is smart, which I'm sure they are well aware that they do not want to touch Ace until that broken stat is gone.
Was a much better choice there, getting the hit off on the
Wait, did I not see another Tinker proc? Like, I saw that one. I knew that one was coming. Did that one get popped, or was that another gen?
I think that was the previous gen that he was at.
Oh, wow. So they full committed to that. High surveillance probably doubled back from middle. So, really good play by these survivors. Just really, really efficient stuff. I mean, this is how you play against the Freddy. You know, if you're playing against Freddy, assume Tinker's in play. And at the end of the day, you know, I think that if they were just get a 3-man out here, that is going to be a huge lead between their first nurse match, this survivor match. I mean, there's no reason to play this out outside of maybe getting the 4-man out, but looks like they opt for a 3-man. Safer bet in my opinion. And Cerebral Assassins really put into a tough position here coming out of the first map, Mount Ormond Resort.
Great game.
No, amazing game, both from, you know, Undying Alliance as far as killer side, and then survivor side following that up as well. Some amazing, amazing stuff, and, you know, this might force Cerebral Assassins into a position now to where they will have to bring out some of those S-tier killers. So, what are your thoughts there? You know, what could have Freddy done better, if anything? Because, honestly, I don't know what he could have done with seeing that many Tinker procs, you know, one after another after another.
I think the main thing, well, I think Freddy's a little tough on that map in general, just because he may have some mobility, but not a lot. However, in that case, you just have to make a decision early on and commit to it, I think, whether you're going to go and commit to these chases or not.
Yeah, no, I mean,
a little wishy-washy on that. I'm not sure there.
Yeah, I mean, I play Freddy often enough to where it's hit or miss, right? You either commit to the chases or do you teleport to the Tinkerer, and you have to decide, you know, can I get enough value off the Tinker teleport to get it regressed enough? And the question is, do you think that's possible in comp? You know, pubs, that's one thing. They're disorganized. They're not efficient. But comp, they're going to go, okay, you know, 12 o'clock gen is at 70%. They're chasing me now. Ruin's going to regress it. Jump on it now so that way it doesn't go below. And if they just rotate and get that timing, Freddy loses that Tinker value. Now he's in chase. He's dropped off someone else who's injured. And now if he's in chase of someone who's healthy, they're dropping pallets. He just lost all that pressure and value. So it's hard. It's hard for killers in that scenario. So they just pretty much made Freddy a 115 killer at the end of the day.
He did the best that he could, and I think he got pretty good value for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he got some hook states. He did get a kill that match, so it's not the worst thing that could have happened there. But Undying Alliance just really pushing ahead. With that being said, you know, we didn't do a point check at the end of the first round because it was a full-on blowout. But I am curious, Giraffe, what was the point total at the end of that match?
Undying Alliance has 86, and Cerebral Assassins has 17.
So, like I said, a pretty significant lead here. So Cerebral Assassins is going to have to bring out the big guns. Otherwise, this match in general is going to be pretty much locked up in Undying Alliance's favor. With that being said, are we good on builds?
I'm waiting for them to send them in again.
Appreciate it. Might just want to remind them, as I think they are just waiting here. They might switch them things up there, you know, especially that Deliverance. If anything, I would recommend High Surveillance not have Deliverance again, as that has now been made known to Sergeant Fidget here.
I think as we move into the Dead Dog map, we're going to be a little more concerned on the Survivor side because this is more of a killer-sided map.
Yeah, I mean, fact of the matter is, Undying Alliance came out very, very heavy with a good killer match, you know, complete blowout with Nurse, with a really good survival match to follow up. And now to be surviving on Dead Dog, you know, it's going to be rough for them, but if they prioritize the right maps, then we, you know, should see a good Survivor match followed up here by Undying Alliance. So it's going to be all on Cerebral Assassins, rather, to bring out, an, you know, maybe another A-tier killer, maybe an S-tier killer, to try and close up this gap.
Wait and see. I don't know what they're going to bring.
And absolutely. It'll be very interesting. And just want to confirm, Giraffe, as we are going into the match, I think everything should be good, but I'll be on the spectator screen for a second just to confirm.
They never sent them in again, just told me same again. As far as I know, everything's good.
Yeah, we'll double check in the spectator screen since we did not get that confirmation. For future reference, though, for those competing, please, when requested by a mod and ref to resend your builds, please do. And just for the sake of time, in case something were to change for some odd reason, that we are double, triple checking so we don't have to restart a match for whatever reason. But with that being said, let's take a look what we're going to see on Dead Dog Saloon. As far as survivors are concerned, everything looks good as far as tools and add-ons, and I see only 2 BTs, so it looks good to me. Let's jump on in, and it is a Demogorgon. Now, I'm not sure if this is Cerebral Assassins understanding that they have to play flawlessly for a win here, or if it's simply the fact that they, you know, are using a throwaway killer. What are your thoughts here, Cash?
I think that the only thing that they could do right now, or what it seems clear to be, is that they're using a throwaway killer. I'm not quite sure if they can get enough value from a demo.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Demo is almost very similar to Freddy. He's a worse Freddy in some senses because he does have that teleport ability, and it is not reliant on survivors interacting with clocks and whatnot. The main problem, of course, is the fact that, you know, he only has a limited number of teleports available. So, in that regard, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what this match will end up looking like by the end of it.
Not sure exactly how many gens they need to complete to be in a little bit of a safe zone, but they're doing a nice job of waiting this out.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing the same exact thing as last time. They are just waiting out the Corrupt Intervention, which it's an interesting play, right? It's hit or miss on depending on the killer. Some killers, like Demo, it's going to give them time to set up using their portals, so now they have the ability to really understand where everyone is on those generators. On the other hand, it means that they now have to patrol more gens than just those that are active and not corrupted. So it's a very give and take situation of, you know, what's the right move to make.
Seems like, at least in Dead Dog's case, it's a good move because of all these bushes.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to get good value out of the environment to ensure that they are not seen early. Not to mention that, but they have now wasted the entirety of Corrupt Intervention, and this first chase just ain't looking good for Demo. But sounds like he has heard his survivors, so he's going to transfer over from Nancy. I mean, makes sense to me. You know, best to go for the survivors that are out of rotation than go for those who aren't.
It was a good first hit there, and good choice to switch off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, good choice to switch off. We do see that a portal did get cleansed up on the saloon, which is a lot of good information from Demogorgon and a really, really good use of that swing fake.
I like the use of his perks as well.
Yeah, I mean,
He's got some interesting choice.
this is, in my opinion, your stock Demogorgon build. You know, Save the Best for Last is pretty much an auto-include on Demogorgon. Ruin, Pop, always good choices, and Corrupt Intervention. I mean, it's a comp staple at this point. You can always risk it for that barbecue and chili. But, you know, as we mentioned before, Corrupt just gets you a lot of value in that early game. But could also, you know, backfire, as we are potentially seeing happen here.
I'm interested to see if the save the best for last is going to get him any snowball.
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of potential and can definitely hurt survivors if, for example, they're trying to finish out a gen and they don't respect save. But as you can see here, even if this next very quick down, we do see 2 gens pop off, I will give credit to Demogorgon. You know, right now we're 1-for-1 ratio. 1 gen for 1 hook, which is not bad for comp, all things considered. It's really going to matter on who he goes for next thereafter, on whether or not it's going to get good value.
I think now he's got to figure out where his 3-gen is and kind of prepare for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I based on what I've seen, I don't think he really has a good 3-gen going for him. It's very much broken up, and it looks like that back corner has also been gotten. It's possible he didn't care about that one and really wanted to focus on saving Gallows instead, as we do see him dropping off of Ace instead going for Meg.
See a trade-off here?
Yep, and honestly, good decision to go for Ace instead. A, he's a non-obsession. B, he's going back for that gen that you really do want to keep as a killer on this map.
It's really easy to get first hits up there unless you have balanced.
Yep, no, I mean, that's why at the end of the day, you really want to ensure that if you are up on Gallows, you have Balance Lane in hand, or something that's going to get you some value. Good use of the Firecracker, but just not enough. I mean, Demogorgon is starting to apply some really good pressure here. I will note that something I didn't notice earlier is Ruin is gone. So they are left with nothing but Pop in hand at this moment in time.
I'm expecting to see another gen pop here soon.
I'm surprised that actually Water Wheel didn't, because it's actually pretty well progressed last time we saw it, but looks like Ruin did its damage. And so Demogorgon's now able to capitalize on this pressure and start going for survivors.
I'm interested to see the route that he takes.
Yeah, he has to make a decision here. There's these 2 gens in the back corner, or do you go for Gallows? Because I bet you right now, there's probably 2 people on Gallows as we speak.
Yeah.
High surveillance, not on it, but we do see another survivor. Instead, 2 people on Water Wheel. I'm surprised they haven't prioritized Gallows instead, but it looks like Demo was privy to that idea and decided to double back onto this gen. So, I will say, I'm not sure if there's the right chase here. You know, obviously there's 2 people on that 1 gen. Meg's the Obsession, has not been on hook yet. And there are other gens to chase, but it looks like he's transferring off to Ace instead, which I think is the right move here. A, we know for a fact that he doesn't have Deliverance, if he is using it again. B, he has just came off a hook. Hopefully he doesn't have a DS for demo's sake, and it does not look to be the case.
Yeah, I'd go back to Gallows if I were him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I'm not sure if his teleport's still there. It does not appear to be the case. So he's kind of looking around, trying to figure out what gen to go for next. And it might be that he might not care for Gallows in the end. I do think that this is an overcommitment here to the unhook, where I honestly would have wanted to prioritize pop value first off and foremost.
Yeah, it looks like he might not get value on that.
Yeah, because Gallows is now down, and I'm betting you that there's a survivor on Water Wheel as we speak, just about to pop.
Wow.
So that is going to be the 4th gen of the game, but the question now stands, what gens are left, and will they, you know, be able to get value out of them? We have pretty much a little bit of a line of gens here. We have the 2 in the back there, and I actually am trying to figure out where that last one is. It might be in that front corner, over by Gallows. So definitely trying to look for Ace, but I think Ace jumped in the locker for DS play. Let's see if it does pay off.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. That gives, you know, these survivors another 5 seconds to work on this gen, and based on the sounds, it's getting there, but not there just yet.
He doesn't have many portals to work with anymore.
No, he doesn't, but what he does have on the other hand is 7 stacks of Save the Best for Last, and is going to make really good use of them there. I mean, that's the lethality of Demogorgon. Once he gets those stacks going, let's be able to M1 you into an M2 almost instantaneously. Now, I do think that this might... I don't know. I think that may have been a bit of a overcommitment there on that chase. Because this might end up with them losing value on that down.
It's looking like the other person's going to get picked up.
Yeah, more likely not, they'll get picked up, though. Maybe if these last two survivors were smart, they'd split on exit pressure, get it 99, then go for the pickup and unhook. Though, at the end of the day, you know, Undying Alliance doesn't really need to go for the 4-man out. They just need to get 3 people out, and it's pretty much GG's. This game will be a wrap. Meaning that Undying Alliance can throw in a, you know, throwaway killer and call it a day.
There it is.
Yep, that's a 3-man out. I mean, Undying Alliance just doing a really good showing of what they're able to do both on Killer and Survivor today. I mean, I know that they're a strong team, but I don't know if they've been doing it this last 3 weeks. They have definitely been practicing. So overall, looks like pretty much the same exact builds across the board. No real changes as far as who was using what. So definitely a bold strategy by these survivors, but you know, it worked out for them in the end.
And it looks like we may see a throwaway killer for this last game.
I mean,
Point advantage.
Yeah, it makes sense to me because at the end of that match, what was the score draft? Nope, I think you remuted yourself by accident.
Oh, whoops. Undying Alliance has 124 and Cerebral Assassins has 42.
Yeah, there is no way at this point in time, if I'm not mistaken, for Cerebral Assassins to come back from this. I think the max points that they're able to get on Survivor, I'm remembering correctly, been 3 weeks, sue me, is about 50 points. So they will not be able to come back from this. And so I do imagine that Undying Alliance will be taking in a Trapper. I mean, they've already used Trickster, though some people would say if this upcoming buff, you know, he might be a little bit more viable.
That'd work out very well.
No, absolutely. I'm interested. Actually, speaking of that, while we are, you know, waiting to load into this next match with Undying Alliance as the killer on Dead Dog, what are your thoughts on the most recent Trickster buff? Do you think it's good for the game? Do you think it's bad for the game? What's your standpoint overall?
I haven't tried it. I have seen videos on it, and I think it might be a little bit on the overpowered side. I can't say for sure.
That's what people have been saying. I'm not sure. I feel like on one hand, it makes them a lot better than the 1v1. I mean, just being able to get only 6 knives is very, very, you know, little time, especially on vaults or pallets. At the same time, you know, if you're playing against survivors who know how to loop and know what they're doing, then I feel like he's still going to struggle with the same things that he already has been, which is those tighter loops around Shack, around, you know, taller T and L walls, where he's going to have to go for the M1 first and the knives second, which is not exactly where he wants to be. So, on one hand, I think it's good for Trickster, because now you're getting chases down to 30 seconds or below, which for killers is where you want to be in ideal scenarios. But I would say for the average survivor, I think they're going to struggle, because most survivors are going to go for those vaults. Most survivors are going to drop pallets early. They're not going to realize, oh, I need to just, you know, loop them around tight loops and force that M1. You know, they're just going to take knives in the back and they're going to feel bad about it. And I think that's where, I think in average gameplay, he's going to feel very strong. Where in, like, comp gameplay or playing against competent survivors, he'll still feel about the same.
I think I agree with most of his changes, like the main event extension.
However, the main event extension's great.
I don't think I agree too much with the blade reduction. That's the part that gets me. Going down to 6.
Yeah, I could see an argument for bringing it down to 7. 7 would be parallel to Melodious Murder, which was pretty much his most commonly used add-on. Maybe that's why they looked at that. When you see Trickster, every single Trickster is pretty much going to be using the USB, the Melodious Murder, which reduces the amount of knives necessary by 1 from 8 to 7, which really made a difference in his 1v1 capabilities. It might be 1 knife, but that 1 knife means a lot for Trickster. But bringing down to 6, it might be a little bit too much. We'll have to wait and see. I think for the average player, it's going to feel bad. I don't think it's going to be a fun thing to play against. Where for those who are more competent and know just to get those side loops, I think it's going to still feel the same for the most part.
It's going to be really exciting to see him in comps more often.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be the interesting part, and I think that's where you'll show the difference of play versus, you know, a killer like that from your average gameplay to your top end gameplay. Those people who are dedicating themselves to competitive play are in some way, shape, or form in the top 1% of players. There are those who are still learning who aren't there yet. But fact of the matter is that majority of players are going to be at that high average, that high MMR, to where if you're playing against Trickster normally in pubs, you're just going to laugh.
That's just something that DBD deals with, and there's not much you can do about that difference.
I mean, I don't think it's just a DBD issue. I think it's a multiplayer game issue, but DBD definitely suffers from it a lot more in comparison. And just want to confirm, Giraffe, are we all good on builds?
All good.
Awesome. Well, in that case, we are jumping into our last match of today on Dead Dog Saloon. As we had mentioned before, there is no way from Cerebral Assassins to come back from this, so I do imagine that Undying Alliance will be bringing in a throwaway killer at the end of the day. Would not be surprised to see a Trapper.
I like watching the games in which people bring their throwaway killers, because it just makes it that much more exciting to see what they can do with it.
Absolutely. I really do enjoy it. A good example is when I played against the former Creepy Daddy Michaels. I brought my Trapper, and it's a fun time, actually. You're playing a 115 killer, but, it's a different style of play, and it's very loop-heavy. So you get to show off what survivors are doing on loops against the 115. You can kind of see what little plays you can make with Trapper that you wouldn't normally see with, a Nurse or a Demogorgon, for example.
Yeah.
But it does look like High Surveillance is bringing a pig. I will note that, unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, Giraffe, you could confirm for me that Undying Alliance did bring pig prior.
Let me find out.
I believe that was a match again. I think that's their last match that they brought Pig and Trickster against Envy, if I'm not mistaken. So, at the end of the day, though oh, yep.
Envy brought the pig.
Oh, and
Undying Alliance did not. They brought the Cannibal and the Trickster.
Oh, my mistake. Apologies about that. I remember seeing Pig on that scorecard. I could have sworn it was Undying Alliance. My mistake there. So in that case, we will move forward with this match. And I'm interested. I'm surprised that they're bringing Pig, to be honest, because I actually do think Pig is, relatively speaking, a pretty good killer.
Yeah, and I also think with the size of the map, it's not as effective, her head traps.
It depends on a few different scenarios where her RNG is. Sometimes RNG can be really good, especially with Jigsaw Sketch and the Tamper Timer. But that is, it's really dependent. You do want to prefer larger maps. At the same time, those smaller maps are kind of nice because if you're just patrolling gens, then you're incidentally patrolling boxes. And if you see an injured survivor with a trap on their head, well, you can just redown them.
This is pros and cons to each.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really love Pig. I think that in this instance, the Jigsaw Sketch plus Tamper Timer makes a ton of sense. I think on those larger maps, you usually want to bring creative gears. And this Pig just might be trying to, reduce value here by, zoning out that hook and making sure that they're not able to get gallows early.
I haven't seen much competitive Pig play, and I'm wondering what the strats are, typically. Whether you're trying to push off people who have their helmets on or go for a more basic style gameplay.
It really depends on the point system that your tournament or league has. Some, do not incentivize Moris, while some, on the other hand, do incentivize Moris. Mine, I find, is kind of balanced. I just make it so that it is the next hook state plus progressions on a Mori, which I think is fair enough. And so Pig can be very strong in that regard if you are pressuring that bear trap survivor around and ensuring that they get Mori'd early on. But in fact, we do see Mild Time here still struggling with that head trap, and I did not hear that box go off. We did see a noise notification suggesting a skill check miss, but it did not appear that they actually finished the Jigsaw trap. So it'll be interesting in that regard if that little bit of time wasted will mean the end of Mild Time.
It's all on the RNG.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why people don't like playing against Pig. Is just because that that RNG can just be so backbreaking, where you're like, okay, you know, I've gotten to all 4 bear traps now, I'm good. You know, I just need the 5th one. You just run out of time. It's like, well, it's punishing, but you know, it shows what Pig can do, and it's really all about that gen pressure, that passive gen pressure that she can have.
I don't think Pig wants to put on more than 2 helmets at a time if she's trying to pressure them.
It depends. You can have some really strange scenarios, like I had in pubs not too long ago, where Pig had all 4 bear traps activated, and so all 4 of our survivors were just running around trying to get our bear traps off, and so it meant that her ruin was just going off like nothing. Whereas, you know, in this instance, with ruin now gone, I would say you're right. You probably only want, you know, 1 or 2 of them, because you're not going to get all too much value otherwise.
I don't think we're going to see all 4 of them down with helmets on.
No, I highly doubt that, but I will say Pig is doing something a little bit cheeky here. A, they're pressuring mill time, ensuring that they're not on, you know, on their jigsaw trap, but B, they're crouching to ensure that they don't start chase.
That is really smart and unpredictable.
Yeah, it's smart and unpredictable. I will say they may have committed a bit too much. I personally would just down them, force another survivor to jump off a gen and pick them up, and that should have wasted enough time to where, you know, they're definitely hurting with only 1, you know, jigsaw box being tested thus far. But we do note that that one guy D is also in a scenario now to where they have their bear trap active.
I'm interested to see if they would have played this differently as the Pig, if they had more to worry about point-wise.
I'd imagine so. You know, as we were just discussing, whether or not they would put on more than 1 or 2 bear traps. I will say, with 2 gens left, probably a good idea to use your bear traps now than later. But at the same time, you know, I definitely think that would be the case. And mill time is in a world of pain. I think, honestly, if I was high surveillance here, I just would not even bother picking up Strife, or mill time rather. I would just leave them on the ground and let the bear trap go off on its own accord. Looks like they have other ideas.
Yep.
Or could they be doing something different and just moving them away from the jigsaw boxes to waste time?
Wow.
Interesting.
Just to ensure the kill.
Yeah, I mean, it... Okay. Now, that grab may have been a bit scuffed there, I'm not gonna lie. That had to have been like a 99.9% done on that unhook. And
That
just
last
looks like latency coming in.
Yep.
It's always painful when that happens, but hopefully, I haven't tested the PTB, so I can't say for myself. Hopefully, instances like that will not happen in the future. But Pig now has 2 people on hook. Looks like they did have a deliverance in play. 1 person on the ground with their bear trap about to go off. I mean, we already knew that there's no way for Cerebral Assassins to come back from this, but there really isn't a way for Cerebral Assassins to come back from this, I don't think. I'm fairly certain that this game is pretty much over.
I'm not sure what this decision is to go looking around the corner. I didn't see anybody run off in that
I think they're looking for mill time. I think they decided, okay, they're probably not going to pick up mill time based on the fact, you know, if I was these survivors, knowing that bleed outs mean that there's no points for the Pig, I would just hide my survivor, let them bleed out. They don't get any additional value. You know, they've already been on hook twice, so it's not really that much of a loss. But that way they deny some value there. But looks like they did get found after all, so a little bit of a moot point, unfortunately. Though, looks like Pig's just trying to put insult to injury and actually put them into a corner, rather than just killing them off. Oh!
And letting them go.
Interesting.
That's smart.
Yep. Looks like Surgeon, not sure if that was just the DC saying we concede at this point, or just saying, you know, that is that. And my internet decided to go out, but that is a Mori for mill time, and the last one left is Steven. So only hope here for Steven is a hatch play, which maybe High Surveillance will be gracious and allow them to boop the snoot, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, relatively speaking, some really good gameplay from High Surveillance here, and looks like they decided no mercy here in comp, and they will go for the 4K. Really good mind game there, doubling back and using their red light to trick that Kate, so nicely done. So I always say, never pallet camp. It will lead to your demise.
Hold W as often as possible.
Yep, exactly. But with that being said, that there is the end of the match. And just overall, really good showing from Undying Alliance. You know, if they brought Pig as a throwaway killer, I'd hate to see what they do when they use someone who really knows how to use Pig. Not saying that High Surveillance doesn't, but where the stakes are a little bit higher.
Awesome, great gameplay.
Yeah, overall, really great gameplay, Survivor and Killer side on both sides. But Undying Alliance really just pulling it ahead and closing out this match. And with that being said, Giraffe, what is the final score?
Undying Alliance with 176 and Cerebral Assassins with 51.
Gotcha. And looks like Steven may have had an issue there where they had some pretty high pings, so that may have been why the DC, which is understandable. I know that we do have some people in EU and NA, so if they are across the country from one another, that can definitely be some rough times. But with that being said, that there is a win for Undying Alliance, so congratulations. That was a very, very fun game to watch and commentate on. And Cash, once again, thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a blast, man. Thank you.
Anytime. And with that being said, Cash, I actually didn't ask earlier, but do you stream?
Occasionally, when I have my time.
Fair enough. Well, if everyone wanted to come say hi and watch your stream, where could they come find you?
Find me at twitch.tv/CashAtGame.
Awesome. And with that being said, I am your host, Guildspire. You can catch me at twitch.tv/Guildspire. I am playing every single day. On that note, though, we will be ending stream there, where we'll be playing another match of Champions Fog tomorrow, our Sunday division. Very excited for that, so hopefully we'll see you all then. On that note, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye!
Bye!